Software development is a tricky task. It requires multiple skill sets, and no one can be an expert in everything. This is why developing software is split into multiple parts, but the most important parts are the back end and the front end. Both are equally important in creating software, as without one, you cannot have the other. Software developers spend months or even years developing applications and mastering their skill set. Like everything, the more you do it, the better you get at it. So what are these ends of software, and what do they do? What are their purposes? Well, the backend is the code that runs on a server, a computer that runs code that can be interacted with packets sent by a client. That client is what hosts the front end, a group of pages that you can interact with. Interacting with the front end sends snippets of information over to the back end, which then sends results that the front end can use. Let me give you an example. Say I have a basic to-do list app and I want to store my list in a database. I can't do it on the client, since then the database password would be accessible by the user, and that's a major security risk. To mitigate this, I'd create a server which acts as a middleman between the two. The client can't see what's on the server, so I can store the credentials without an attacker getting unauthorized access to my database. The front end would send a request, usually a post request, to my backend when you click the Add To-Do List item button. The backend would then process this information and append it to the database. Finally, it'll send a status code to tell the front end that the operation was a success. And that's it! A full website complete with a front end and back end. As stated before, software development is split into multiple categories, and someone like a back-end software developer is responsible for, well, back-end software. They write their own code or optimize existing code for the quickest results possible. They program routes, which can be requested by the front end in an instant. The Application Programming Interface, or API, is the collection of these routes. Once the routes are made, the front-end software developer will create a web page that communicates with these routes through user input. And input is anything that the user does on the web page, such as clicking a button, hovering over a container, or visiting a link. For the backend, you need a database. This is where the database engineer will set up a database using one of the many providers on a new server. Once done, the backend software developer can connect their code to the database through either a driver or their own package. Software development is both a hobby and a career, and you can get paid a lot for it. The median salary for software development in the United States is $120,730. Quite a lot. Editor me here. I was unable to locate the original source where I got this information, and after checking with multiple others, such as US News, I found that the actual median salary is $127,260. Sorry. And all forms of software development are special when it comes to work environment. They get to work remotely or in office. Almost all code is hosted on the internet, so in-office working just ends up leading to more expenses. Some companies are fully remote and some are fully in office. It's all dependent on what the employer wants. Software has the intent to solve problems, whether they exist or not, so you need an idea or problem before starting. While developing, you should have a general understanding of your target audience. The target audience is a group of people that are users for your website. This could be developers, businesses, or the normal internet user. Software developers use the engineering design process like any other STEM career does. First, you plan out what you want. This includes determining a target audience, finding a problem, and brainstorming a solution. Once you're done planning, you'll move on to designing. In software development, designing is planning how the interface of a page or app will look, usually in a software such as Figma or Adobe Illustrator. Once the design for the interface is finished, you can either move on to the front end or the back end, as you can do either first, but both must get done. Once they're both done, you can move on to quality assurance testing and stress testing, which involves finding both regular users and skilled developers to attempt to find issues in your system. This step is vital in finding security vulnerabilities and visual issues. Once a QA test has been completed, you can go back and fix anything that the testers reported. Once all the issues are finished, then you can work on publication. This includes making a logo, working on search engine optimization, and finding a virtual private server to host your project. If you have a physical computer, then that can be used for it too. Congratulations, your project is finished. Software development isn't easy, and it takes time. If you're looking into it, just make sure to stay determined throughout the process. It could take days, it could take months, and it could take years. You just need to remember that you will finish eventually, and your work will pay off. Thank you for watching.